one thing unique thing about the 90s era, let's focus on your work, right? Like and I'm not a music expert. I know when I hear great music. I'm a filmmaker myself.
Oh,
Um, but the element of using drums, right? Like you use it in Tarzan quite a bit. I don't know what the right terminology is, but it was just something fresh, and I think that makes sense now that you guys are coming from that world of pop and songs, and you brought that in a very organic way. It wasn't any intention. That's just who you were, and that I think that clicked. And obviously the notes and the theme, that. And the thing is, a lot of soundtracks have great themes, but they don't have good soundtracks. The thing with Speed and Twister, you know, Lion King, Tarzan, all these, you can listen to the soundtrack entire day. Like it's the whole Bad Boys too, which you did. And that's remarkable. So I just wanted to mention that the entire soundtrack is something you can listen to while driving or going on a flight or
I
something.
don't remember who told me this, and I mean, it might have been, I don't know who told me this, but I remember early on somebody told me it wasn't Zimmer because it was, if you can create a soundtrack that makes the movie better, and yet the soundtrack can live on its own away from the movie, then you've really hit it out of the park. And I think that's really true. And I think in a lot of areas that's gone because what's happened is there's been a stray away from thematic film scores or thematic scores, and more
Yeah.
like a mood and more like a vibe, which is great. A mood is great. But when you take the music away from the film, it's just, there's nothing there really. It's just kind of something where you kind of go, okay, well, it's okay. And I call
Yeah.
it wallpaper. And I don't mean wallpaper in a bad way because I've done it too. It's just, it's a different type of approach. And I've always had the approach, I'm a songwriter. So for me, I love being able to take, for instance, if you listen to the overture to Speed, the opening, the drums sound like something Phil Collins would have done. I played it, but I grew up on Phil Collins. I saw Phil
Yeah.
Collins when he was 21 years old. When I was a kid, and I knew that style, so I was able to put that into the score of Speed, and kind of cross. And I hadn't even worked with Phil yet, so it's that influence I think that we all had from, let's say, Kate Bush and Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins, all these people kind
Yeah.
of helped shape that landscape.
And one thing I wanted to comment on, you were talking about like the soundtrack living forever, right? Longer than you can listen to it on its own. It's when I first was when I first fell in love with movie scores, and I'm just going to talk about specifically Twister and Speed. I would listen to it on a cassette, back in the day,
Yeah.
and literally, like, I would put the Speed theme on, and I would just visualize myself, sitting on a bus and trying to go through all these hurdles and stuff. And same thing with Twister. There's a lot of shots in Twister like that where, because it's all shot in like a farm area, so you have this aerial shot from, here's a road that goes
Yeah.
over all these crops. And I would look at these, I will drive in these farms area and I'll try to visualize while the music was playing. And then that to me, like you said, that to me is a soundtrack that lives forever. Like you're trying to mimic it yourself in your head, and you're trying to come up with these visuals. So, kudos to you for the work that you have done. Huge fan of your work. Just wanted to
Thank you.
mention that. Yeah.
Thank you. I did talk to somebody a while ago in Europe that interviewed me, and he recorded one of my scores that didn't used to be available on. The score wasn't available.
Mm.
It is now, but it wasn't and he recorded it from the TV on a cassette, and he's listened to it like every day for like, I don't know, 20, 30 years,
Yeah.
whatever it is. And it cracked me up because I thought, wow, I've got to get you just the score, the recorded score, so that you don't have to listen to all the dialogue and everything.
And I used to do the same thing. I had a tape recorder that I would put right next to the TV speaker, And without the dialogue, wherever the music were, I would record it because Twister soundtrack wasn't available for the longest time.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And now it's on YouTube. I mean, you can listen to the whole thing on YouTube.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just hear like, even the audio quality wouldn't be that good, but that's what it was. Like, that's how you could listen to the music.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And,
right.
but,
right.
But going on with the conversation, what's the process for coming up with a theme or just a track? Let's talk about theme. Like how do you get into that? Like, for example, you got handed over a Twister. Okay, here you go. Let's come up with something. Like, what steps you go through to come up with a theme to start off with?
And every movie's different, right? So for instance, a movie like Training Day, I don't sit down and say, okay, what's going to be my theme to Training Day? Because Training Day is such a dark movie. And it does have a theme, but it's a mood theme. And it's not 3 notes or 4 notes like Speed is, and Twister kind of had 2 sides to it. It had the wheat fields, which was what you were talking about, and that's a very exciting, uplifting theme. Dare I say Aaron Copland, because I'm a huge fan of Aaron Copland, and I'm nowhere near the composer that Aaron Copland was. But that Americana feeling that he invented, I grabbed a little bit of that in that theme. But again, that is only there that time, another time when they're running and getting stuff ready, and then at the very end played very romantically. It wasn't a theme that plays everywhere, obviously, because there's so much tragedy that happens. Yeah. So the other side of it was those big, thunderous chord changes, very slow, with the choral being the voices being the tornado. And that was the LA Master Chorale. And so that concept for me was, okay, this thing is spinning and everything's going everywhere. So rather than the music doing that, I'm going to do big, long, ominous, like during the drive-in, right? Mm-hmm. Big, ominous chords to go with his axe going, and that was really fun, because it's really fun to do, we say play against the picture. So kind of do the opposite of what the picture's doing. If something's happening really quickly, play something really slow, that kind of concept. Right.
And do you come up with the theme? I know every film is different. I would imagine so. Like, is it sometimes before the film even goes into production or in the production, or do you like to see the visuals to inspire you?
Well, with live action, I like to see the visuals, but with animation, you normally get, still shots. Like, you don't get the film, so you don't know the movement and the color. You don't know what the colors are going to be. And that's really tough.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, just like you can just see how cheap my ideas are. But so Speed, bum 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 bum, right? Like 4 notes. And when they hired me to do Bad Boys, of course, they wanted Speed. So they had temped the entire movie with the score from Speed, which drove me crazy, because every time I saw Will Smith running, they had bum 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 bum, and I'm going, no, I can't. So my theme was bum 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 bum, which is basically upside down, right? I mean, Speed theme upside down. But it worked. And what I was really happy about is I saw right before COVID, I saw Bad Boys 3.
Okay.
And it starts with my themes, and my themes are throughout that movie from the original Bad Boys.